Since hive beetles suck, I thought that might be a good way to get rid of them. With a break in the weather and the tornadoes behind us, it was time to go in and take a look at our hives and see how our beetle trapping was doing. They are annoying little things that can really damage the strength of the hive.
Start right at the top. These guys that we put in last week.
It appears the dry Swiffer sheets that we put in really did a good job collecting hive beetles that had made it into the hive. Many were stranded above and below the hive, but the ones that got in seemed to be finding their way to the cloth.
One frame in now, we're picking it up. So that's good. Okay. Majority of what we're getting on these things is hive beetles. There's a couple of bees trapped in it, and a couple others walking around it.
The goldenrod honey flow had started. It wasn't in earnest yet. There wasn't a lot of it out, but hopefully these guys would build up the goldenrod honey for the winter. If not, we had some real big problems that we'd have to deal with, such as very heavy feeding of the bees.
We're getting quite a few hive beetles in there. That is a good thing.
In addition to the Swiffer rags and the greased bottom boards and the vacuuming, we also put in some standard beetle traps that had mineral oil in them.
Cap brood, larvae and eggs. Fortunately, the phone is shadowing itself a little bit. As much as I saw hive beetles on the outside of the hive, not seeing any running around on the inside. Or cap brood. Or cap brood and bee bread. Eggs, young larvae. Wherever you are in there, doing good. I am not going to disturb you. I'm going to just put you all guys back together.
It's important not to overwork a hive. You want to get in, assess what you need to, and then get back out again.
We're good here.
With the Atlantis hive done, it was time to move on to Mesopotamia. There were less hive beetles noticeable on the cloths on the top of the hive. That's a very good sign. Hopefully the rest of the inspection would reveal a strong hive.
Not much wheat in this super. Of course, we have two deeps underneath, so that might be one of the reasons.
The Mesopotamia hive seemed to look good. I didn't see as much brood as I would have liked to see, but I didn't go down into the bottom super. There were 2 deep brood chambers on this hive, which is unusual. I really don't like to use that. And chances are the queen was down on the bottom one. We were seeing some evidence, and that was good enough for me. Unfortunately, the camera cut out. It just overheated and shut down. It was in the sun, even though the day wasn't all that hot.
We'll go a little. This is number 3, since we had a little bit of a kick out there on the last video. Camera stopped due to heat. It isn't even terribly hot. But, you know, it was in the sun. I'll try putting it more in the shade now. This one doesn't look like they've really capitalized too much. I'm getting the hive beetles into those things. So we'll loosen it up. Give them a little smoke. Hive beetle on the outside of the hive. I'm not seeing the strength here that I would be expecting to see. There's one of these Swiffer sheets that they've trapped a few beetles in. The one that has the second honey super on it. So I'm going to move the honey super over and judge the weight as I move it. This has got some honey in it. Okay. Happy about that. Now let's see what's going on downstairs. I wasn't too sure this hive last time I was in it. Looked like the brood rearing was a bit weak. So, I want to make sure that we got brood happening. Yeah, I start jumping like that.
I have some concerns about this hive making it through the winter. The queen is just not a strong laying queen, and it's a little bit late in the year now that it's September to try requeening the hive. So we're going to have to keep our fingers crossed, feed it, give it a lot of pollen cakes, and hopefully it makes it through the winter.
Definitely a more antsy hive than the other ones. It could be they're trying to tell me something. Honey. There's brood. Looks like some drone brood at the bottom. Not seeing any fresh eggs or anything. Capped brood. Bee brood. Capped brood. Not seeing young larvae yet. Could be she moved up to that honey super. Ah, larva. Okay. She's around here somewhere. For the 3 hives, this one, our Troy hive, seems to be the most aggressive.
Aggressive would be a relative term. None of the 3 hives are what I would truly call aggressive, but out of the 3 of them, this one tends to be a little bit more bouncy and a little bit easier to agitate than the other 2. So, you know.
Now because of the brood pattern we saw downstairs, I'm going to take a look at some of these frames in the honey super. As the goldenrod progresses, I would expect these things to fill up. And if not, it would start to worry me. Yeah, that's better. That's better.
I have to apologize for some of the poor camera work. That's what happens when you're working alone. Our bee should be returning in the next episode, and that'll make things a little bit easier.
Solid honey. Good stores. And there's brood. Fairly fresh capped brood. Honey on that side. We're emerging.
What I really like to see in a hive is a lot of eggs and young larvae. That tells me that you're going to have a lot of capped brood and a lot of worker bees out in the field. It's fall, or it's starting to get into the fall season, and queens generally drop off a little bit, but you want them to lay as many new workers as possible going into the winter. So we might have to put a little pollen supplement in there to spur things on.
I think they're moving her downstairs.
As a honey flow starts, the workers will often drive the queen down so that they can store honey.
We'll check this guy in a week or so. See where we're at. Scattering in here as far as what they're putting where. I've got to check the upper super. Come on, girls. They are probalizing. How's our upstairs hive beetle trap doing? That's consistent with the fact that I don't see too many in this hive.
Part of the life cycle of a hive beetle is as a larva in the ground below the hive. For some reason, the ground under this hive did not support the larvas too well, as there were few hive beetles in the hive.
We're good for another week.